So today's topic of discussion is chemotherapy of malignancy. Chemotherapy of malignancy is nothing but the treatment given for the cancer. So the topic of discussion is chemotherapy of malignancy. What is malignancy? Malignancy is nothing but cancer. Then what is cancer? Cancer is nothing but when we have abnormal cell growth in our body, which is also termed as neoplasm. Neo means new. New tumor or new cell is formed, and that one is replicating, multiplying rapidly in our body, and there is a chance that it is spreading to different parts of our body also. So we are saying that cancer, it is replicating, it is multiplying, it is spreading to different parts of our body. What are the characteristics of this cancer cells? How you can identify it is a cancer cell? What are the characteristics of the cancer cell? The first one is metastasis. Metastasis is nothing but the development of malignant growth, increased growth at a different part or a different site other than the primary site of the cancer. The cancer cell is present at one site, but the replication is happening in somewhere else. That is metastasis, rapid multiplication. And the second one is uncontrolled proliferation. Proliferation is nothing but movement. It is spreading to various parts. Uncontrolled, it is can't be controlled. So uncontrolled proliferation. De-differentiation. De-differentiation. Anywhere we indicate deactivation. De indicates deactivation. It is active but it is deactivated. Here also de-differentiation. Nothing but differentiation leads to maturation. De-differentiation means it is losing certain specific function, or it is losing the maturity of that particular cell. Especially it happens in a healthy cell, so it becomes cancerous. So that is de-differentiation. The specific function of the cell is lost, or it is becoming immature. Maturity is being lost. That is de-differentiation. And the next one is invasiveness. Invasive means within. It is becoming more invasive. It is spreading within our body, into our body. That is invasiveness. So coming to the pathogenesis of cancer, how this cancer will be started within a person. So when a person is being exposed to various chemicals, virus or radiation, that is radiation, when we are exposed to radiation, we may have inherited mutations from our parents, or the acquired, which we are acquiring by ourselves because of the exposure to chemicals or virus or radiation. Within our body we have the expression of the tumor because of the proto-oncogenes and oncogenes, which are the cancerous cells. We will have the expression of the tumor. Because of that, the cells will be started proliferating. The apoptosis process will be decreased. The cell death process can't be happen. So that what happened, the cell is getting multiplied rapidly, and it is leading to the development of tumor cell. Coming to the types of cancer, it is of majorly of two types: benign tumor and malignant tumor. Usually we say benign tumor is harmless, whereas malignant tumor is harmful. So you can see the image over here, benign tumor. So the tumor is disturbing our normal cell, but it is not affecting it. It is just trying to disturb, but it doesn't cause or affect our healthy cell. Whereas a malignant tumor, the cancerous cell is disturbing our body cells. So you can see that it is red in color, it is dangerous, it is hitting our body cells, it is disturbing our body, and it is causing that disturbance of our healthy cells also. So what are the differences between this benign tumor and malignant tumor? Benign tumor is slow growing, whereas a malignant one will be very fast growing. Whereas a benign tumor, it will be resembling the normal cells, whereas the malignant cells have a capacity to differentiate, and it will pass to the different parts of our body. Whereas a benign tumor will stay in a localized, it stays in a single place, whereas here it spreads to various body parts. Usually benign is not harmful, whereas a malignant cancer or malignant tumor is harmful to our body if it is not treated. So in the pathogenesis of cancer, we have seen that when a person is exposed to various chemicals, viruses, and to the radiation treatment, it may develop the acquired mutations. So here etiology is nothing but cause. What is the cause for the cancer? When a person is exposed to the carcinogenic chemicals, nothing but which make the chemicals which have a capacity to cause cancer. Initiator, which initiates or starts the cancer. Promoter. Promoter is nothing but it is not causing cancer, but it is helping to cause the cancer. That is promoter. When a person is being exposed to the environmental or occupational hazards, We see when a pharma people, they are working in various industries, pharma industries, they may be exposed to various chemicals like arsenic, vinyl chloride, which may cause the cancer. That is occupational hazard, environmental and occupational hazards. Here comes some other causes which may cause the cancer. It includes various viruses like Epstein-Barr virus, EB virus, or previously we have discussed hepatitis B virus and human papilloma virus. And diet. When a person is taking diet which is having low fiber or which is having heavy fat content, or a person is excessively having alcohol, tobacco, all this may lead to the cancer. Genetic factors, nothing but from our forefathers we may get the genetical material which may cause the cancer. Or if a person is excessively using immunosuppressants which is suppressing our immunity, then also we have chance of developing the cancer. So as we have discussed in the previous slides, cancer is of two types, benign or malignant. So how to test whether the cancer is benign or malignant? What is the diagnosis for this test? So a doctor will perform a biopsy, nothing but a small part, or it will be removed from that particular tissue where it is tumor is formed. From that tumor we will take a small part and it will be done for the test. After the microscopic examination, the doctor will identify whether that particular tumor is benign or malignant. Coming to the diagnosis, we have seen by doing biopsy we can identify whether it is benign or malignant tumor. Some other tests we can do like endoscopy. In the lungs we can do bronchoscopy, cystoscopy, radiology like CT scan, MRI scan, and biopsy also we can do in two types. What is needles bioscopy? Just we will insert a needle and take some tissue sample and do the test. And surgical biopsy is nothing but a small piece will be cut and tested. Coming to the stages of cancer, it will be of four types: stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. Depending upon the extent of a disease, we will classify them into 1, 2, 3, and 4 stages. So depending upon the stage, the treatment will be given. So by using the markers, we can identify or diagnose whether the particular organ is having the tumor or not. So here are certain markers to identify various cancers of the different parts of the body. Coming to the treatment of cancer, how we can treat the cancer? We can use chemotherapy by using the chemicals, surgical resection, nothing but removal of that particular tumor, radiotherapy by using the radiation for the treatment, immunotherapy which increases the immunity, the therapy given by immunostimulants. Coming to the first one, chemotherapy, which is in our syllabus, that is chemotherapy of the cancer. So when a person is being treated with the chemotherapy, nothing but using the anti-cancer drugs for the treatment, chemotherapy, therapy with the chemicals for the cancer. So anywhere chemotherapy is nothing but the treatment with the chemicals. So cancer cells, when they are treated with these anti-cancer drugs, so anti-cancer, so they will inhibit the action of the cancer cells. They will stop dividing or growing or multiplying, thereby the cell will be inhibited. So when a person is using these chemotherapeutic drugs, they may develop certain adverse effects or the most common side effects. What are they? The most common one is alopecia, loss of hair. The bone mineral density will be decreased, that will be affected. BMD is nothing but bone mineral density. Nausea, vomiting, increased chances of getting infections, and if a pregnant female is undergoing this treatment, it may develop teratogenicity. Teratogenicity is nothing but development or chances of increasing causing the fetal. So when a mother is taking, the baby will be affected. That is teratogenicity, which we have seen phocomelia, fused limbs, that is with the thalidomide effect, that is teratogenic example. So with the cancer cells also there is chances of developing teratogenicity. So coming to the anti-cancer drugs, there are of two types majorly, the drugs which are acting on the cells and the second one are which are hormonal drugs. So the drugs which are acting on the cells, the first class of drugs are alkylating agents. Alkylating agents. Under that we have a subclassification of nitrogen mustards, ethylenamines, nitrosoureas, alkyl sulfonates, thiazines, platinum based alkylating agents and methyl hydrazines. So these are coming under the alkylating agents. So under the first class, the drugs acting on the cells, the first one are alkylating agents and the next one are antimetabolites which have folic acid antagonist, pyridine analogs and purine analogs. And the next class of drugs are natural alkaloids or the natural products in which we include zinc alkaloids, taxanes, camphoricins, epiphotophyllotoxins, and the next class are antibiotics, enzymes, and monoclonal antibodies, which we have learned recently, monoclonal antibodies. So the first class of drugs, they are acting on the cells. And the second class of drugs are hormonal drugs, which are based by the hormonal action, which includes glucocorticoids, estrogens, selective estrogen receptor modulators, selective estrogen receptor downregulators, aromatase inhibitors, anti-androgens, 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, progestins, and gonadotropin releasing hormones, analogs, and gonadotropin releasing hormone antagonists. So in this slide we can see the common mechanisms of few anti-cancer drugs. So basically for the synthesis or the for the synthesis of proteins or for the normal function of DNA or RNA, we require purines and pyrimidines. If these purines and pyrimidines are there, then only we have the DNA and RNA production. From there we have the proteins. So most of our drugs like purine and pyrimidine antagonists, as the name indicates, they antagonize the action of purines and pyrimidines. So thereby we don't have a proper DNA synthesis and mRNA function. Thereby we don't have the protein, so the bacteria, here the cancerous cell can't survive. 5-fluorouracil, this is inhibiting the DTMP synthesis. This DTMP is nothing but deoxythymidine monophosphate, which is responsible for the synthesis of DNA. So if the DTMP is not there, say the methotrexate or 5-fluorouracil, they are preventing the purines, pyrimidines and DTMP. Thereby they prevent the DNA synthesis of the cancerous cell. And alkylating agents, antibiotics, they also disrupt the DNA. Cross-linking will happen in the DNA, fragmentation of the DNA will happen. Thereby we don't have the proteins which are required for the survival of the cancerous cell. This is the common mechanisms how the anti-cancer drugs are acting. The first class of drugs, alkylating agents. What is the mechanism of these alkylating agents? So alkylating agents will form a highly reactive carbonium ion. What this carbonium ion is doing is, it is transferring the alkyl group to the nucleophilic sites on the DNA basis. So when these alkylating agents are being undergoing some reaction, it forms a carbonium ion and it forms an alkyl group. This alkyl group is transferred to the DNA. Because of the excess addition of these alkyl groups to the DNA, it results in the cross-linking of DNA, abnormal base pairing in the DNA, and finally the DNA strands will be broken down. Because of that, the cell proliferation will be decreased. So in this method, the alkylating agents are affecting the DNA. Apart from that, they also have the capacity to affect the RNA and proteins also. In the previous slide, we have seen from DNA, RNA and proteins are being showing the action. So if DNA is affected, ultimately RNA and the proteins are not formed properly. Coming to the pharmacological actions of the alkylating agents, they have a cytotoxic action, cytotoxic cells, toxic action on the cytotoxic cells, and has a capacity to suppress the immunity and the miscellaneous actions like nausea and vomiting, and it is also known as radiomimetic drugs, which show similar effect to that of radiation. So in the classification we have seen under alkylating agents there are various subclassifications. The first one is nitrogen mustards. In that the drugs include cyclophosphanamide, chlorambucil, meclorithamine hydrochloride, etc. So the first one is cyclophosphamide. It is inactive in vitro. When it is administered, it is metabolized in the liver into phosphoramide and acrolein, which is an active compound. It is not properly absorbed by the oral routes, so it is given by the parenteral routes, that is mostly given by IV route. It can be used for the treatment of various cancers like breast, ovarian, lung, lymphosarcoma, etc. Coming to the adverse effects, NVD, nothing but nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, darkening of the skin and the nails, pulmonary fibrosis. For the urinary tract infections, when we have the bone mineral densities decreased, and the dose is given. So all the alkylating subclasses have the common mechanism. You can go through the individual drug pharmacokinetics, adverse effects and doses in the next slides. So the next class of drugs, antimetabolites. Under that, the first one is folic acid antagonist. We have seen this common mechanism in the previous classes also. So from the folate, we have dihydrofolic acid, which is being converted to tetrahydrofolic acid. This tetrahydrofolic acid is responsible for the synthesis of various proteins which are required for the survival of the cancerous cell. It may be a bacterial cell, viral cell, for everything we require the tetrahydrofolic acid. So here our methotrexate is preventing the conversion of dihydrofolate to tetrahydrofolate by preventing the dihydrofolate reductase. So thereby we don't have the tetrahydrofolate, thereby we don't have the cofactors which are helping for the synthesis of DNA and RNA. Next class of drugs are purine analogs. The best examples are 6-mercaptopurine and 6-thioguanine, etc. So they are highly effective drugs for the treatment of the tumors. So generally the purines are helping for the synthesis of DNA. If this DNA is present, then only our cancerous cell can present. So if we are preventing the purine which is helping for the DNA synthesis, thereby the cancerous T cell cannot be survived. So what happens is the 6-mercaptopurine or the 6-thioguanine, they are being converted to the intracellularly to the TGMP. What is this TGMP? Thioguanolic acid. This acid, the conversion is happening in the presence of hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyl transferase HGPRT. Hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyl transferase. So after that, this enzyme, it gets converted to di and triphosphate, that is thioguanosine diphosphate, thioguanosine triphosphate. So after the conversion, what is happening is they prevent the synthesis of purines. As I told previously, if purines are not there, the cancerous cell's DNA can't be synthesized properly. So here our drugs finally they are inhibiting the synthesis of purines, and which are also helping for the phosphorylation of GMP to guanosine diphosphate. So as we have seen in the previous slides also, the tetrahydrofolate is helping for the DNA synthesis. Here this DUMP is also playing a major role for the formation of the tetrahydrofolate, which you can see in the previous slide of methotrexate, the role of DUMP. So here DUMP, in the presence of thymidine synthase, it is getting converted to thymidine monophosphate. This thymidine monophosphate is helping for the DNA synthesis. But our drug 5-fluorouracil, it is being after taking into our body, it gets converted to 5-fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate. This fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate will prevent the action of thymidine synthesis. So we don't have thymidine monophosphate and we don't have the DNA synthesis. That is the reason the cancerous cell can't survive. So this slide explains the mechanism of the purines pyrimidines which are preventing the function of the DNA. Generally their purines and pyrimidines are helping for formation of DNA. We are using purine antagonists and pyrimidine antagonists. So we don't have the proper synthesis of the DNA. Whereas the Vinca alkaloids, they are preventing the microtubule formation, and other drugs, they are preventing the topoisomerase enzyme. So thereby the microtubule formation and the synthesis of proteins is being prevented. Coming to the Vinca alkaloids, vincristine and vinblastine, how these drugs are acting. So these drugs, they bind to the beta tubulin, which is a drug and tubulin complex. Our drugs go and bind to the tubulin and form a complex. So after the formation of this complex, it will disrupt the mitotic spindle, and the chromosomes fail to move this during the mitotic phase. So the metaphase arrest will happen and the cell division is being inhibited. So you can see here how Vinca alkaloids are acting. In the interphase, prophase and metaphase. In the metaphase, we have the microtubule assembly. But what our drugs are is doing is, instead of the normal assembly of the tubules, the tubulins are getting assembled or complexed with our drugs. So that is the reason they are not getting assembled and we don't have the cell division because of the complex formation with vincristine, vinblastine with the tubulin. And the next drugs are epipodophylotoxin. These epipodophylotoxins, how they are acting is they bind to topoisomerase enzyme. This topoisomerase enzyme, by binding to topoisomerase enzyme, our drugs are causing the breaking of the DNA. That is how these drugs are acting. In the previous slide we have seen few drugs are acting on topoisomerase and they are breaking the DNA. So this epipodophylotoxins are preventing or are acting on the topoisomerase enzyme, or they are breaking the DNA. The next class of drugs are antibiotics. How they are acting? They act by different mechanisms. The first one is they intercalate, nothing but they bind with the DNA. The antibiotics are binding with the DNA and they are interfering with the DNA replication and mRNA transcription. That is the first one. They combine with the DNA and they prevent the replication of DNA and mRNA transcription. And the second one is they generate the free radicals. Because of these free radicals, the DNA will be broken down. And the third one is which will inhibit the topoisomerase. As the previous drugs we have seen, by inhibiting the topoisomerase enzyme, the DNA strand will be broken down. This slide gives the list of various monoclonal antibodies which have been treated for various types of cancer. So up to now we have seen various chemicals or the drugs which are used for the treatment, and the other treatment is surgical resection. Nothing but whatever the organ or a body part is being affected with the cancer, that particular part or the organ will be removed from the body so that the spread of the cancer can be prevented. Usually this will be done in breast cancer, colon cancer, etc. The other therapy is radiotherapy. This is for additional information because in our syllabus we have only chemotherapy. But for your knowledge, radiotherapy is nothing but using the radiation to kill the cancerous cells. So when you are using the radiation, normal cells also will be affected. But the cancerous cells are more sensitive than our normal cells. That is the reason we are using radiation to treat the cancer. So in the previous slides we have seen various drugs or the radiation for the treatment of cancer. This radiation or the drugs may affect our body also, as we have told. But the immunotherapy is the one which is specifically affecting the cancer cells, because when a person is being affected with the cancer, they produce, or our immune system can recognize certain antigens as the cancer cell. So the immunotherapy will kill only the cancer cells or affect only the cancer cells. That is, only the cancer cells are antigens in our immunotherapy. That is the reason they affect only the cancerous cells. So it is majorly acting only on the cancerous cells. So we can immunize the patients against their tumors by using the immunotherapy.